And so, friends, it's my privilege to welcome my friend, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, and currently the Labour candidate for Tottenham, the Right Honourable David Lammy.
Well, friends, thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for welcoming me here at the India Global Forum, which continues to grow from strength to strength. And I wanted, first of all, to thank you, Manoj, for the work that you do and for the tireless efforts, not only bringing us together, but to help us in listening and learning. Very, very grateful indeed. And I can only hope that you might return to the Labour family soon. Our gathering here is a dazzling example of the extraordinary contribution of British Indians, who are not only our largest diaspora community, but without whom it would be hard, really, even to imagine modern Britain as we know it. There is not one town, not one high street, not one bank, not one university that is not part of this living bridge tying our islands to the great country of India. Friends, your work is a living embodiment of the wisdom from the great holy texts, the Upanishad, evoked by so many Indian leaders from Nehru to Modi, espoused by so many of India's greatest diplomats, from the great Krishna Menon to my friend Dr. Deshankar. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family, a celebration of democracy. Yes, I'm joining you from the campaign trail, and this is my 8th general election. I've known the thrill of victory and the bitterness of defeat, the momentum of knowing the country is behind you, or that sinking feeling you get in your stomach of knowing that you have failed to win their trust. But every time an election rolls out, even when the results don't quite pan out the way that you'd like them to, I feel a joy in my heart at the working of democracy, the door knocking that we do, the counts that we attend, the rosettes that we wear. It all gives me a joy, as it's the millions of people out there making democracy together, our nation being out there, being the values that we hold, and in the spirit of celebration, that brings me to our forum today. Because I deeply believe that India's democratic elections, with almost 1 billion voters, are the most important statement, the most important validation, not only of the democratic ideal, but of democratic practice in today's global community. This is something that binds us together, not only as politicians, not only as voters, but as nations and civilizations with a shared vision of what human dignity and human freedom really are. And this is what Gandhi meant when he said democracy, disciplined and enlightened, is the finest thing in the world. Friends, we all know the challenges democracies, including our own, face. The deep fakes, the disinformation. But this is what we hold on to and is what we believe. India is a superpower. And Indian democracy, what a thing to celebrate. What a thing to give us hope. What a moment to again congratulate Narendra Modi for forming a new government. That if we have the privilege to serve, we look forward to working closely with. And what a moment to aspire and to dream, not just in Hyderabad or Mumbai, but here in Britain, because India is a superpower, 1.4 billion people strong, the largest country in the world, an economic superpower, set to become the world's third largest economy by 2030, a technological superpower, astonishing the world, from the Gurgaon to Bangalore, from Wipro to Tata Consultancy Services, a vaccine superpower, leading the world from Pune to extraordinary Serum Institute of India, a cultural superpower as well, of course, from Bollywood to the Ramoji Film City, and a literary superpower, from Anita Desai to Amitav Ghosh, carrying the novel forward as a form and revealing the world to us with every page. A superpower that is the future of Asia, the future of the English language, with almost 4 times as many English speakers than here in the UK, and the future of democracy itself. India contributes so much to British prosperity already. Last year, India was our second largest foreign direct investment contributor. Over 950 Indian companies are employing over 100,000 people here in the UK. But it could be so much more, as India is only our 12th largest trading partner. And that is why Sir Keir Starmer changed Labour Party. And in that changed Labour Party, our aspiration for a free trade deal between our two nations is a floor, not a ceiling on our ambitions. And why our leader has set his sights on, yes, a new UK-India strategic partnership that focuses on economic security, domestic security, and global security. And announcing his intentions on this very same stage last year, we need a reset and a relaunch of our relationship, because I'm afraid it's our view that the Conservatives have time and time again overpromised and under-delivered when it comes to India. And that leaves me frustrated. Frustrated at the missed opportunities, frustrated at the shared prosperity that's passing us both by, which is our ambition over this next period. And we hope for a 10-year renewal project, but over this next period to unlock. Many Diwalis have come and gone without a trade deal, and too many businesses have been left waiting. So my message to Minister Sitharaman and Minister Goyal is that Labour is ready to go. Let's finally get our free trade deal done, finished, over, and we move on. And India is not just a priority for our leader. India is a priority for me. I promise you, I will be in India if we get over the line before the end of next month. Because traveling to India with my colleague Johnny Reynolds, our Shadow Secretary of State for Business and Trade, our mission was explicit. And it's also the case that our deputy leader, Angela Rayner, when she travelled to India, meeting with multiple business groups to explain that the government led by Sir Keir Starmer will prioritise growth. And that we come not just to lecture, but to listen. And that is very important. And one lesson that I learned was about the railways. India's railways are now 94% electrified. Here in Britain, the rate currently stands as 38% electrified. We've got something to learn. With the current government planning to reach net zero on the railways by 2050, a full 2 decades after India. Friends, Britain needs a reset with the global south, and that begins in India. And with Labour, I've got to tell you, the days of Boris Johnson reciting that old verse from Rudyard Kipling in Asia are over. If I recite a poem, it will be by Tagore, friends. We want to learn and we want to collaborate. From tech and digital innovation, from digital public infrastructure to our physical public infrastructure, from the green transition to global vaccines, to understanding the outstanding economic transformation led by successive now Indian governments, and how we can apply those lessons here in the UK to achieve Keir Starmer's missions. Because with a superpower like India, the areas of cooperation and the areas of learning are limitless. India and climate is a good example. Friends, the meaning of friendship, it seems to me, is solidarity. And we are in solidarity with India. And we have the extreme heat wave. When you have the extreme heat waves and the suffering in your cities, with daily temperatures regularly reaching over 40 degrees centigrade, peaking at nearly 50 degrees centigrade since May, this shows that climate breakdown is here. And this is why the Labour Party, with our internationalism and our commitment to net zero, will make climate action a priority. We're committed to a new climate change envoy and a step up on the international scene, reversing the damage that Rishi Sunak did to our credibility when he ripped up our climate targets and came up with all sorts of nonsense about 7 recycling bins. With us, Britain will be back, and Keir Starmer is determined to never skip a climate summit as crucial as COP. Keir will forge on with a new energy transition that we desperately need, with a commitment to clean power by 2030 at home and leading a clean power alliance abroad. There can be no energy transition without an Indian energy transition. India is the dispensable partner, not only to Britain, but the whole developed world. And together, we must work together in this essential mission. And to make sure that this year's shocking heat wave does not become a new normality for our children and grandchildren, along with so many other climate disasters menacing us in the southern and the northern hemisphere alike. And then we come on to security. This is our message to our friends forming India's new government and across the political divide. We are with you when you stand up to stop climate change, but our solidarity goes beyond climate and extends to security. Friends, let me tell you about how I see things and how I approach foreign policy. I take the world as it is, and in these difficult times, as the great promise, as the great peril which we now see in our world. This is who we are. We stand for a rules-based order and against those who wish to redraw borders by force with a new form of imperialism like Mr. Putin in Europe. And those in Asia who wish to impose their will on their neighbours, denying them free choices. This is obvious to us in this room, but sadly not always to those in foreign policy. Europe and Asia are not two separate worlds. We see this in North Korean shells being fired at Ukrainian defenders in the Donbass, and we see this in the political and material support Beijing has given to the Kremlin. China should not throw its lot in with Putin's coalition of Moscow, Tehran, or Pyongyang. Friends, as our rivals deepen their cooperation, we must deepen our cooperation, because we are committed to a free and open Indo-Pacific, just like India is. And in this challenging environment, Britain will remain and seek to ramp up the security partnership with India, from military to maritime security, from cyber to critical and emerging technologies, from defense and industrial cooperation to supply chain security. We are India's friends, and we are with her and right behind her. This is our message, which the UK Carrier Strike Group will carry to the Indian Ocean in 2025, to train and operate with Indian forces in a world that is more and more contested. This is a friendship. It's not only made in speeches, but in real actions in the real world. There are a few who fail to appreciate that Britain's relationship with India is the great story of our past, leaving us inextricably linked. And the best place to see it is not in Whitehall, but on the Rajpath, but in our family trees. Almost 3% of the population here is of Indian origin. And this, friends, is personal to me. I get our history, our shared history, because these are the tides that made me. My great-great-grandmother was an Indian from Calcutta who set sail as an indentured labourer to the Caribbean, where my parents were born. And I see this in Guyana, and I look at the diversity of that great country, and I see this, of course, in India, which in some ways is one of the motherlands of that country. Trade and technology. From Gurgaon to Pune and Bangalore will transform Birmingham, Cardiff, Brighton. Today, India is the superpower, and with our shared democracy, our shared innovation, our shared ambition, for a green, prosperous world we can show together and share together in these words that are so true. Vasudeva Katum Bakam. The world is one family. Thank you very much for having me.